You may recall at the end of part one, we had discussed the lifestyles timeline and the four categories of people that had lived in this lakes area of southeast Michigan, and we ended by asking the question, who might be the next type of individuals that live in this area? To answer that question, let's look at some trends. Movie and television producers have a lot of resources to gauge public interest. They utilize market research, focus groups, and eventually pilot shows. By the time a show goes into production, they have a pretty good idea of how it will be received by the public. This timeline identifies the most popular TV shows in their time. I have color-coded them for a reason. As you might have guessed, it's lifestyles. The red-colored shows were all based in the car-dependent suburbs. The green-colored shows were all based in large metropolitan cities with public transportation and neighborhood jobs, shops, and stores. It is interesting that the Lucille Ball show started in a large city, and they made a big deal out of their move to the suburbs in a 1957 episode. The Honeymooners was a wildly popular show in 1957, but dropped rapidly and only had 39 episodes. Ralph and Alice Cramden never moved to the suburbs. Now let's look at how these trends will affect homebuyers. Christopher Lineberger points out in his book titled The Option of Urbanism, the type of family for whom the typical drivable suburban home was built, 2 parents, stay-at-home mom, 2.5 kids, is no longer the American norm. Childless households will grow 7 times more than households with children. The growth in households will be driven by empty nesters, never nesters, and singles. These households will not overly concern themselves with the quality of public schools or large lots for children. Our study of history has shown that trends tend to swing like a pendulum. In the early 1900s, people flocked from a farm lifestyle to move to the urban cities. Henry Ford's $5 a day enticement has been well documented. The expansion of cul-de-sac neighborhoods at the expense of urban dwellings illustrates the 1950s era move to the suburbs. We are now seeing a swing back to a demand for a walkable urban housing, particularly with our youth. At a time when we have the nation's highest unemployment rate and lead the country in population loss, we could ask, what has become of Michigan? The better question is, what should Michigan become and how to get there? As quoted in the editorial from the Oakland Ann Arbor News. We all know that Michigan grew on its dependence of factory-based jobs. This was no accident. One of the world's largest deposits of iron ore was in northern Minnesota, and one of the world's largest deposits of coal was in the Appalachian Mountain area. Transportation brought these natural resources together in Pittsburgh, Youngstown, Detroit, and Chicago with steel mills and automobile factories. Not a day goes by without hearing in the press that Michigan needs to create knowledge-based jobs to keep and attract our educated youth. There is a problem with that idea. The people who work in those knowledge-based jobs can work anywhere they want. They are not anchored to a factory any longer. If Michigan's future is knowledge-based jobs, how does Michigan adapt with these trends? Cul-de-sac bans as a new money-saving measure for government. University of Michigan officials worry exodus could impact in-state applicant pool. Some 2/3 of talented young people nationwide are attracted to major cities, but Michigan's major cities are performing poorly in that talent competition. We need a focus on creating places where talent, particularly mobile young talent, wants to live. This means expanded public investments in quality of place with an emphasis on vibrant central city neighborhoods. Conclusion. If the future for Michigan is knowledge-based jobs, and if the workers in these knowledge-based jobs can work anywhere they want, then Michigan better find a way to make this a place where these workers want to live, because the trends are showing they do not want to live here. The data shows a need for a vibrant central city, Detroit, with an extensive public transportation and an adequate supply of walkable urban neighborhoods, with as many as 17 walkable urban places like Royal Oak and Birmingham. Thank you very much.